Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Breakfast with the Gators. Coming to you this Friday morning due to a bye week. No breakfast bites and obviously a no Sunday recap show. So, welcome, everybody, and how are we feeling, fellas?
Great.
Relieved.
No Billy Napier football this weekend. We got the Ryder Cup, one of the great events in sports in general, and can actually watch some competitive, well-coached football on Saturday, and then leading into another great Sunday. And my Vikings are in Ireland, so that's going to be a 6:30 local kick for me here out in Arizona. So looking forward to that.
Will, what do you got?
We got to bring NFL football back to America. I think the 9:30 kickoffs are getting out of control.
I would agree. Just to add, because we're in London the week after too, we're doing a little Will Norris Vikings and tea and crumpets. So we're hanging out there for a little bit.
Listen, when I was in London, I dropped the old Jags Shad Khan on a couple people, and they all started cracking up immediately. I didn't know if that was because the Jags are also the joke of England or if they actually like them. But it was funny that they actually recognized exactly what we were talking about.
That's your 2-1 Jacksonville Jaguars.
Should be
respect on the
3-0 if not for a Jake Browning 30 burger.
And getting accused of stealing signs and being well coached all of a sudden. It's uncharted territory for Jaguar fans.
Well, the three of us, Dev, Hunter, and I will be playing golf together. First time all three of us have gotten together on the golf course. We'll be playing Hammock Dunes. Could have been an all Breakfast with the Gators foursome, but Will Norris decided to decline our invite once again. So we'll drag him out there one day. But again, one of these days we'll get you on the golf course. But again, we're brought to you by Norris and Norris, PA. Norris and Norris, PA out of Lake City, Florida, a preeminent law firm serving North Florida since 1985. You can give Guy a call at 386-752-7240 if you need any assistance with business law matters, real estate, wills, or trust and estate planning. And as always, we're part of the Stadium and Gale network. Well, fellas, we're 1-3, headed to the bye week. Certainly a spot none of us imagined we would be in. But here we are. Another Groundhog's Day for the Gators. And we're going to start off with a voicemail, kind of spark the conversation a little bit. I hope I get it right. I think it's John from Tampa.
What's up, guys? This is John from Tampa. Just calling in with a question. When do you guys think we'll finally make the move and fire Billy Napier? I've had so much of enough of this guy. I'm so ready to be done with him. I'm fine if we want to wait till Game 5 for the red shirt purposes and so you can him after Texas. But I don't know if you guys saw the video of when he was walking in the tunnel in Miami and somebody said dead man walking. I was kind of hoping he'd pull a Jaluk and hit that guy and we could fire him for cause right there. But, he kept his composure, unfortunately, I guess. So, anyways, I look forward to hearing back from you guys.
Yeah. Will, I'll start with you. You don't have the now hiring background, so you must be all in on the Billy Napier train leading the Gators in 2026.
Oh, yeah. You know me, a diehard Billy Napier supporter. I've been out there on Twitter the last couple of days just really making sure that everybody knows Billy is going to be back in 2026. I think he needs to go 2-1 in these next 3 games against Texas, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State. And he somehow will have a path to keep his job. But I think if he loses to Texas and Texas A&M, I think he will be fired the week before the Georgia game. I don't see Florida firing him on homecoming, and people they kind of talk about would he be fired after a win. I don't know that it really matters that much. If he's 2-5 going into the Georgia game, are we really worried about him coming off of a win? I think it's more of a bye week. So that's what I'm banking on, is that we play Mississippi State and then we go into the bye week and he's gone. But I am worried that he's going to somehow keep his job.
Hunter, where's your prediction how long Billy Napier lasts as the head coach of the Gators?
Yeah, Will and I had a disagreement last week. Obviously, I saw that clip on Twitter. Some people had their thoughts. It definitely will be interesting because I think before the year we talked about Texas being that game where it's the patented swamp game where someone's got to come in with the swamp crowd. So I could see us beating Texas, which is just feels silly saying at 1-3, but. I'm going to go with just the simplest explanation. I believe they call that Principal Occam's razor. Next loss, and he's gone. So I'm thinking, some of y'all got that reference. I'm thinking next loss, he's gone. I'm just going to stop right there. So I'll kick it to Devin.
Occam's razor has been hot on Twitter.
That's funny. Yeah, I had sources in Gainesville telling me that the black flags were being lowered during the bye week, and they're starting to put up white flags. I think we're just about over with this.
Are the black flags at half mast?
They're at half mast for now, and then they're going to lower them, and the white flags will raise, and that means it's time for a new coach in Gainesville. I had the dirty thought cross my head today, and I had to pinch myself and text you guys to get the thought out of my head that we somehow find a way to beat Texas next Saturday. But I do agree. I think that it's the next loss. I think that it makes sense that it happens after Texas A&M. I imagine if it's an ugly loss on next Saturday in the swamp, the nightmare will be over then. But if not, then we're not going into College Station and winning. So I think that Texas A&M is the best guess. What you think, Sam? You got anything different?
No, I would agree, and I think we're all we know we probably will lose against Texas, but there's definitely a shot we can catch them. They haven't looked great. It's an opportunity. I think either way, it's after Texas A&M because I think that game will be really ugly. I think Texas A&M is a very good football team this year from what they've showed the first few weeks. And to Will's point, you don't want to fire him after homecoming. I actually think firing him before homecoming is a good idea in the sense you can rally around its homecoming week. I know, Jackson, you asked last week, what's the message they can send to salvage this season? I think that is kind of a start, at least to build around an interim and a rebuild. But yeah, I would say if the Texas loss is, if we lose it all, he's gone. I think we could win that game. Gross. But yeah, after Texas A&M, I think that is the Sunday, the breakfast with the Gators. That might be a little fun.
Yeah, so I'm with you. You give the interim coach kind of test run homecoming. You still got fans coming with a little bit of excitement at the homecoming parade. We got the throwback jerseys. So you just kind of get a little bit of a tune-up before the bye week and before you go take on the Dogs in Jacksonville. So I'm right there with you. Will and I have a $20 side bet wager. Even if he goes 1-1 these next two, I still think he gets fired. Will, I don't know why he believes he's going to continue to stick around.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Napier's a cockroach, so
it's the same thing. It's really the exact same thing that we heard last year. You heard it earlier in the week that there were going to be some play calling changes. A couple of maybe a staff shake up. We heard this last year. I think it was about UCF, right? And what happened? He said, "No, we're quadrupling down on the black flag mentality." And then he goes into his Wednesday SEC teleconference and he's asked straight up by Mark Long, "Will you continue calling plays?" And he said, "Yes." It's the same thing. He's doing the exact. He has seen this movie play out before and he knows how it ends. So I think he needs to go 1-1 against the two Texas schools, and I think we'll beat Mississippi State, and he'll coach the Georgia game.
It's amazing that we're back in mid-September and we're hearing the same baited lines that he has.
Oh, yeah.
The outside noise. It's time for us to hunker down and lean on each other. It's the same thing that we've heard for 2 years now. It's amazing that we've made it to this point.
It's incredible. Texas has not played a league game yet, and we've got a now hiring sign. I got Lane Kiffin behind me in a Gator short sleeve and Sam's got a graveyard behind him with the Florida Gators season. It's just
Oh, there's a DeBilly back here too.
I see it now. Yeah,
The one thing I'm surprised he has not done what every fired coach, not fired but pre-fired coach does, is he has not cut the media out yet. Usually you get like the, closed practices and nobody gets to go at all and that sort of thing.
He got a little with Graham Hall last week.
He got a little testy with him, but he hasn't closed practices off to the media or anything. Usually they pull that card right before. He can't really pull to fire the OC and move the OC upstairs or anything. That would actually be a sight to see. What if Billy called a game from up top? Do you think it would get better or worse?
Can't get worse.
That's probably a good point. If he was upstairs, he could have his phone on so he could Google and use AI and use ChatGPT to figure out what we should do next.
Or he
Might
could just
hit
do
50 yards in the first half.
Chat 3rd and 3. What should we run here?
Well, that brings us to the hottest topic right now on Twitter. It's all over the place. Feels like every talking head has brought up the list. It's a fluid list. I think we've zeroed in on. We've kind of endorsed Lane Kiffin as this podcast. That is 1A. He is in another tier beyond all the other coaches that have been mentioned or vetted in the past. But let's listen into Sumner. I think from Venice. He's got a little bit of a different take.
Jackson, before we hit the voicemail, this is a democracy. How about all in favor of endorsing Lane Kiffin as a podcast? Say aye.
Aye.
But I like to discuss.
Well, the official stance of the Breakfast Boys is Lane Kiffin for 28th head coach of the Florida Gators.
I think so.
Let's discuss from there.
Yes, I brought other options too, but
we'll get into that. But let's kick it to Sumner. He left a call today that certainly makes you wonder what they're drinking down there in the southwest portion of the state.
Hey, boys, this is Sumner down in Venice. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Been super disappointed with this season up to date, so really looking forward to a coaching search to get me roped back in. Top 3 would be Kiffin, Gruden, Meyer. I think we need a big splash. If we can't land on the first 2, I think we bring in Meyer for a 3 or 4 year deal. Try to get this place back to relevancy. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Well, Urban's certainly been he's talked about the Gators a lot since his retirement, a firing in the NFL and his retirement from college. What are your guys' thoughts on Gruden, Meyer? Gruden's been flying around the rumor mill, the groomers, the last few weeks.
I think if the current modern day college football phased out Nick Saban, obviously I know he was getting older, but I'm just worried about that, keeping up with how crazy the climate is in college football. Obviously, they're great coaches, would have more trust in Urban because we've seen it. Gruden, as hilarious that would be. I really don't know how it would pan out. I'm sure you'd be able to put together a great staff, but you still don't really know how it would pan out. Obviously, Bill Belichick isn't a great example yet, but it's of those 3 options, there's one guy that's proven it in all across the country in this conference, and he happens to be right above Jackson.
Hunter?
Yeah, I feel similar to Sam on Gruden, and honestly, I mean, I just enjoy watching the man's content on Barstool so much. I don't know that I want to give that up, but no, I definitely would have my concerns with Gruden at the college level. I also don't know that's one that the admin would even sign off on. I've seen the name floated. I've seen the rumors surrounding it, but I don't see the admin signing off on that one. Obviously, we'll get into Lane a little bit more, but that's one that now Breakfast with Gators fully endorsed, so you know our feelings there. We'll dive into that more. And then, Urban obviously is an interesting one. We had some disagreement in the chat about that, and you know what that would look like. But those are some general thoughts. Devin?
So for Gruden, I think obviously he knows football, which that in of itself is like a massive upgrade over what we have right now. But when you talk about John Gruden, the Super Bowl winning head coach, that Super Bowl was 24 years ago, and we're talking about a guy that's never coached in college football. I think that this is a fan base that's in a administration to an extent that's hungry to win, and it's now's the time to be making the best possible hire. And I think in 2025, there's several names that are better for the Florida job than John Gruden is. And that's not to say he doesn't know football. That's not to say that he's not a good football coach. I just don't think that that's a very serious hire for the University of Florida in this coaching search. Now, as far as Urban goes, I don't necessarily think that's a serious option either. I think that he's happily retired and his heart is content and healthy and full, being on the Fox Sports desk with Dave Portnoy and the boys every big noon kickoff on Saturday mornings. If that were a real option, though, I have no doubt in my mind that he would attract an excellent staff. He would instantly bring credibility to the school. It would be one of those oh crap hires that our rivals are all going, oh my God, Urban Meyer's back at Florida.
We will have 11 guys on the field on special teams.
I think we can almost guarantee we'll have 11 guys on the field almost every single play, and we won't.
If not, he'll kick them.
Injuries. I think that Urban, it's not a serious conversation yet, but it became a serious conversation. I don't think that any of us would sit here and say, yeah, we shouldn't even consider that. Like, I think that it's Urban Meyer. He should be in the Ring of Honor. He's a Hall of Fame coach. I don't care what the NIL situation is. I don't care about the transfer portal. I think that he knows how to win college football games.
And he doesn't have a buyout.
To do.
And I don't think we have Cincinnati or any school in Ohio on our schedule, so we wouldn't have to worry about the sports bar up there either. We'd be in good shape.
Very good point.
I think Gruden is an intriguing name just because X's and O's, he would immediately be unbelievably advanced. Like, if you thought that Dan Mullen was like dicing up Kirby Smart with wheel routes, just wait until like John Gruden gets his hands on some Spider 2 Y Banana with Hayden Hansen. But one of the things that like nobody really mentions with Gruden is the only way Gruden would work is if you had complete alignment from the president on down to the athletic director. You would have to hire some sort of general manager who's going to like handle all of the recruiting. And
Jay Gruden from Ponte Vedra, Florida can handle those duties.
Oh, yeah, what, we're going to have Deuce as the strength coach? But you get what I'm saying is that Florida, since Urban Meyer has left, and even during Urban Meyer, we didn't really have alignment from the top down. And I think that's not really why Napier was unsuccessful, but like maybe Dan Mullen, that could have contributed to him sort of falling out of love with the university and with college football. But I think the only way Gruden would work is for him to just solely, be focused on the X's and O's during the game. And I don't think that right now Florida is in a position where that would be possible for him. As far as Urban Meyer goes, I think that's like, it's just every Gator fan's dream. Like, imagine Urban gets inducted into the Ring of Honor and then they announce him, in the halftime of the Tennessee game. And they're like, oh, by the way, he's going to be coaching. Like, immediately you would just, all the nostalgia would be there. Every single Gator fan who talks about, oh, well, he left us, they would get over it very quickly because he would all of a sudden be the coach of the Gators. And I think it would just be a dream come true. I have no idea if it would work or if he would screw it up like he screwed up the Jags or what. It'd be a total wild card. And so that's, I think, why we've endorsed Lane Kiffin, is because it seems like he has the highest floor and also a very high ceiling. And I mean, Urban, what his ceiling is. He could win multiple national championships within 5 years at UF and then retire with a succession plan and like have righted all the wrongs of the past. And maybe that's intriguing to him, but I don't see it, but I think that it would be an incredibly cool story for college football. It would immediately make the Gator, like, it wouldn't matter who was contending for the national championship. The story would be that Urban Meyer is coaching the Florida Gators again.
Well, and something that we kind of discussed over text was if you think about the legacy that Urban's left at his other two major programs, at Utah, he left them with Kyle Whittingham, who's still there 21 years later. At Ohio State, he left them with Ryan Day, who was born on third base and just finally broke through and won them a national championship. I have to think that it kind of eats at him a little bit that Florida that he helped build up and bring in the post-Spurrier age of Gator football and win two national championships here. I have to think that he looks back at that like that's a stain on his legacy, that if he were to ever return to coaching, correcting that and leaving Florida in a better place than what he left it the first time would be something that might have the pull to get him back into the game.
Yeah,
we're not asking him to be here for 10 years. 4 or 5 year quick rebuild, provide some stability, and bring a guy on staff that could overtake the program and be born on third base like our boy Will Norris here on the pod. We made fun of him in the chat for that. I think
I love living this Ryan Day lifestyle of being born on third base. It's really nice. I wish the Gators were on third base right now. It'd be the greatest thing in the world. It'd be so close.
And that's why I believe Urban would leave.
I think really the only concern about Urban is you have to get over the mental work ethic hump of the coming out of retirement. Like when Saban came back down from the pros, it was like an immediate transition. Same with Spurrier when he went back to South Carolina. And so, Urban has kind of been sitting on his couch in Siesta Key, getting to chill out and fly across the country to, do a Saturday show. But so would he be able to just reignite the flame of the work ethic that you have to go compete with Kirby Smart to get the best players in the country? Maybe because he's, all these top coaches are kind of psychopaths, but who knows if he would be able to actually reignite that flame the way that he would need to in order to win a championship at UF.
Also, from to that point, Will, kind of what Jackson was saying on what Devin was saying on legacy and how he left Utah, how he left Ohio State, and maybe be itching to leave Florida in that better spot. On the other side of that, he went and tried the NFL. It obviously did not work out, and his NFL legacy is obviously poor, but it's okay, right? Because he has that college legacy that's untouched, and this great accolades at Ohio State and Florida. And so there is that risk if he comes back and tries it one more time out of retirement that you hurt that legacy a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like right now it's just the NFL's that's eyesore, so there's that risk too. Like he did leave on top and in a good spot in college for the most part. So that's something to consider.
It's a Jacksonville Jaguars, so most people have forgotten about that 14-game stint.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right. Yeah. Okay.
I do agree, Hunter. He could tarnish his college legacy a little bit if he came back to Florida and did not work out. But moving on let's get some legitimate candidates. Our guy Pierce from Pompano Beach, his audio wasn't great, but he mentioned his number one guy is going after Dan Lanning. You go make the top guys across the country, whether it's Ryan Day, James Franklin, Dan Lanning, you go make them tell you no. I believe, what's his buyout? Does anybody know it's like $20 million? And obviously Phil Knight will throw a massive bag at him if we ever entertain that possibility.
I think it's almost as much as Billy Napier's was.
Yeah, I think I read that it would be $41 million to buy out Billy and buy out Lanning.
And you would think probably $35 million of that would be Dan Lanning, but unfortunately it's split 50-50.
Yeah. Didn't he get a raise and an extension after he had won a Big Ten championship and a Pac-12 championship? Maybe the Pac-12 was dead by then. But he had won at least one championship, right?
He turned down Bama.
Oh, but it wasn't just because he said he was bringing an army. I'm just trying to get the record straight. I don't know why his buyout's so big.
But look at some of these people's lists, like Rhett Lashley, Eli Drinkwitz, who that name's floated around for 2 years now. Those aren't your home run, flashy hires that the University of Florida is capable of making. I mean, this program has been running to the ground these last 15 years outside of probably 4 or 5 years of being a good team, making it to several New Year's Six bowls. But it's the standard in the SEC is the Florida and Alabama. I don't understand why we don't have that mentality at the boosters, the athletic administration, and it doesn't help we don't have a president right now. But yeah, you go make these big dogs tell you no first, and then move on to your tier 2, tier 3 candidates and work your way down. What are your thoughts, Sam?
No, I agree. I have, like I said, I brought other options, and there I have like certain categories, and I have a make them say no category, and Dan Lanning is the top guy on that list. And it's obviously going to be the most complicating one in terms of the finances, and because Phil Knight's there and everything with Nike. But to me, that is a dog, the way he just approaches the game. And I know we talk about, Florida football, points, which is why, we are endorsing Lane. But I think I mentioned it last week, like I'm also not in favor of going the other route because trying the points route just hasn't worked. I know we haven't hired the right guys, with maybe the exception of Dan because he was a good, play caller and game day coach. But that's why I like Dan Lanning as terms of you have to make him say no. And I also have Marcus Freeman in that category. I know that he's left some things to be desired, but I think he's still young enough. Obviously Brian Kelly left him in a good in terms of talent, but I mean he just absolutely pieced out of there. And Marcus Freeman was able to take over that team, and they rallied around him. And I think he would be a good recruiter down here, and also defensive side of the ball. Do not bring your OC with you. That's all I ask. But he's in my note category, and then you kind of fall down to the more logical ones where Lane is. That doesn't work out. You pivot. Drink, unfortunately, is there. I know I texted you guys. I think the attractiveness to him from Scott could be because he did give up play calling and he made that ego check, which is what we've been begging our current coach to do. So I really think that earns him some points. I know we're not crazy about him, but that's the only reason I think he's a candidate. And then there's obviously some other guys like Kenny Dillingham. He's not quite there yet. Fran Brown in Syracuse, I like him. He's ballsy. Onside kick against Clemson after scoring a touchdown. We need that energy here, but he's not quite ready yet. So that's just kind of my tiers to it. What you got, Devin?
So are we going to have the Dabo conversation?
I really hope we don't.
You can have the Dabo conversation. He can come be an analyst for Billy next year.
Yeah. Who are we to say no to the 8-time in the last 10-year ACC champion, the 2-time national champion?
One of only 3 active coaches with a national title under their belt right now.
I'm not saying that I think he's the number 1 guy for the job. I'm not saying he's a top 5 guy for the job. I am saying that I think that he's better than John Sumrall, Eli Drinkwitz, Alex Golish. If you're ending up in that area of the list, I think that it would be insane to have not kicked the tires on Dabo. And maybe his best days are past him, but maybe he needs a fresh start. Maybe he needs, if you're changing jobs in 2025, you're going to have to use the transfer portal, whether you like it or not. And that might mean taking 20 players off Clemson's roster or piecemealing a first-year roster. And I think that that's something that you would go through in the interview process. I'm sure that that Scott will be very in tune with with his questions and making sure that he crosses his T's and dots his I's when he's talking to Dabo about modern college football. And
I'm not too confident they have those conversations, Devin.
I'm not either. So I do think, though, that Dabo's a guy that is an interesting and an intriguing option, that just because his time at Clemson may be running stale, I don't think that he's forgotten how to coach college football.
No, and he recruits the state of Florida very well. When he took over that Clemson job and kind of got into their run, probably starting 2014, 2015, they've dominated coming into the state along with Ohio State and a few other schools.
You're talking about a guy that went toe-to-toe with prime Nick Saban and won 2 national championships against him. That guy didn't just forget how to coach. I know it's been, 8 years ago now, but the guy didn't forget how to coach. So I think that that's a name that's worth throwing around in a conversation worth having. I also have Signetti from Indiana, 15-2 at Indiana, won 14 of those 15 games by double digits. I think James Franklin is a name that's intriguing. I think he puts together really good, strong staffs at Penn State. Him going out and hiring Knowles off of Ohio State's defensive coordinator, coming off a national championship, and bringing him to Penn State and saying, we're not satisfied at Penn State with a playoff run. We're trying to win a national championship and going after, the best potential defensive coordinator hire that he could get. I thought that said a lot, and that was something that made him an intriguing option. And then one other name that we haven't talked about much. I don't know how interested he is in the SEC, but Lincoln Riley. I think that he's at a school that doesn't care about football anymore, which is unfortunate because it's USC, and we kind of all grew up on Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and a program that's a shell of what it once was. But I'm looking at coaches that have an identity. What kind of brand of football that you're going to watch when you turn on one of these coaches' programs. And I think Lane is the guy that he fits the University of Florida personality-wise and scheme-wise. He wants to put up points. He has that young feel about him, even though he's not, a 35-year-old anymore. So plenty of options this year. I really think that it's hard to downgrade from what we've watched these last couple of years, which kind of gives you a little bit of solace during this coaching search, is knowing that it can't be worse, knock on wood, than what we've watched these last 4 years.
Hunter, out of Signetti, Franklin, Dabo, who's your choice?
Signetti would be my choice of those three. Devin and I have gone back on Dabo. We've talked Dabo back and forth for it feels like since we met in law school. And obviously the accolades are there. I'm just of the opinion in this era of transfer portal and NIL, he hasn't adapted. And what Devin said's right, though, right? If he's willing to adapt and says all the right things and needs a fresh start, then sure, it's absolutely worth kicking the tires on. I'm not saying you don't kick the tires on it. You should turn over every stone, and we all have the utmost faith in Scott Strickland to do that. But I'm not, I'm not for Dabo for those reasons. Everyone pretty much, Sam and Devin, touched on all the names on my list. If we're talking about the ones you got to call and make them say no, of course, Lanning comes to mind. I'm of the opinion he wouldn't take the call or he'd hang up, faster than Scott Strickland can say his name. But make the call, right? Of course, I'd want him if he's willing. My top three, I would say, are Kiffin, Freeman, and Signetti. And for all the reasons touched on by Sam and Dev. Freeman has done an impressive job post Kelly. Obviously, not the best start this year. They were two really close losses to two really good teams, and would be surprised to see him right the ship and win out, and then us be in, and later in the year with the conversation of if a 10-2 Notre Dame gets in, which they probably would. Signetti, Devin touched on as well. He's been awesome at Indiana, and he just blows the doors off of teams that shouldn't be on the same field as them, which I love because we all know, and Will's talked about it, where Billy's just obsessed with mucking up games 27-21 or whatever, even with teams that you should be beaten by 40. And so that's attractive. There's certainly some downsides with Kurt that I've heard people talk about, but there's a downside with all these coaches, right? I mean, you're going to find something to complain about with all these guys. And that brings us to the other candidate, which there's plenty of people on both sides, and that's Lane Kiffin. Florida's offense, you talk Steve Spurrier, you talk Urban Meyer, you think offense, and Lane Kiffin is offense. Lane Kiffin, his game plan travels. That man, doesn't matter who's at the helm of that offense, it just always seems to put up points. You talk red flags, a lot of people obviously talk about him and some of the off-the-field stuff. I'll give you the biggest red flag I've seen on Twitter. The man lost to Billy Napier last year. That's concerning. And again, Lane Kiffin's my top choice. I'm on board with Breakfast with the Gators. Lane Kiffin, come on down. The man lost to Billy Napier last year. I mean, we spend 90% of this podcast complaining about Billy Napier, and the dude lost to him in a game where it was basically like a win and get in. So I know there's counterpoints, Evan. I'm just go ahead.
He lost to the Swamp.
Yes.
He did.
He lost
That's
to
fair.
DJ
Long
Lagway
did you
standing
win.
up
That's
there.
fair.
He
That's
lost
fair.
to DJ Lagway before he was ruined by Billy Napier and Ryan O'Hara with defenders draped around his waist
Fair.
throwing miraculous things.
That's fair. No,
Miraculous
that's totally
passes.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
One of the things that I think that I think that if you hired Dabo Sweeney, it's kind of like similar to Urban Meyer, where like before they're hired, you're going to be back and forth. But like, you can't tell me that if like it was announced by Pete Thamel tomorrow that the Gators have stolen Dabo Sweeney from Clemson, that not everybody would be like, oh my goodness, that was like a hell of a move right there. And like, they're serious. And I would think that it would
Fair.
suggest that Dabo has probably reevaluated some things if he's leaving like little old Clemson, where he has like had the opportunity to leave and he never has, and now he's moving to the SEC and that sort of thing. But I don't think that if Billy Napier gets fired, that would actually be the move where Scott would go, because I think that Scott, he seems to have changed a little bit with when he hired Todd Golden versus when he hired Dan Mullen. Like, I think he hired Dan Mullen because Jim McElwain was so bad on offense. And then I think he hired Billy Napier because Dan Mullen was so bad with program building and with recruiting. And it was almost like hiring this new coach just to spite what your ex-coach did poorly at. And so I think that like whenever Mike White left, he didn't go look for somebody who was just like, I'm going to go find the like most high flying offensive type coach. Like, he literally did a full search. I will never forget, Lovelace actually had the scoop that it was going to be Todd Golden, the coach, not Mac McMahon, who everybody wanted, who was the high flying offense, John Morant guy. But he did a national search and like found this highly intelligent guy who just like knows basketball, knows defense, everything, who just like is able to adapt. And I think that that's sort of what he has to do. Like, Lane Kiffin should be hired, because if you look at what Lane Kiffin has done outside of like the offense, he's had, years where his offense has been really, really good. Somebody was coming at me on Twitter saying that Lane Kiffin was carried by his defense last year and the offense was like in a down year, top 5 in the country. But the main thing is that he has elevated Ole Miss to heights that Ole Miss has never been to. Like, now people think because he has been there for so long, like Ole Miss is always in the picture. Before Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss had 5 10-win seasons in their entire history. Like, they've been playing football as long as the Gators have, as long as LSU has, as long as Alabama has, all the way back to, pre-integration. And they had 5 10-win seasons. And now in Lane's like 5 or 6 years there, he has 3 of them. He has their only 11-win season. And this is playing in the SEC West before they went to no divisions. So he has always played at least or tougher of a schedule than Florida has. Maybe not in the last 2 years where they've had some cupcakes where Florida still had like Florida State and everything. But like Florida got a 2-10 Florida State team last year, So I think just like the way he elevated Ole Miss to do like what they did, like, people will rag on him for the recruiting. I think it's a total strategic thing. Like, when you're at Ole Miss, you're simply not going to beat out LSU and Alabama for these, 4 or 5-star guys. So what do? You pivot and you go in the portal and you go find guys who are like the top G5 dudes, or the guys who, need to play their grad year somewhere like Princely did. And he's done that, and he's been really, really good. He clearly can develop quarterbacks. Like, Matt Corral was like the worst quarterback he had there. Think about that. Like, what we would do for Matt Corral right now. And so I think that Lane Kiffin would be a perfect mix of everything that we should just look for. Secondly, I love Kurt Cignetti. He reminds me exactly of Nick Saban at Michigan State. Like, he goes in there, he absolutely pounds teams. He talks about, you have to find out what they're terrible at, and you got to kill them, and just do that over and over and over again. He seems like he was Nick Saban's recruiting coordinator when Saban first got the Alabama job. And that seems to have carried over with his talent evaluation and his ability to build a roster that just will smother all these teams. I mean, he doesn't have as good of a roster as Bielema has built at Illinois. Like, when you think Bielema, you think offensive line. And he's got the beefy Midwest dudes on the offensive line that are standing up to all these other Big Ten schools. And Cignetti just like doesn't care. He just ran right over him, threw all over them, and now he's got a Heisman candidate quarterback at Indiana. Like, he's brought Indiana football back before Indiana basketball came back.
Who transferred from California.
Yeah, who is from Miami, Florida. And so I think that I know Cignetti is like 65. Nick Saban won 3 SEC championships after he turned 65. I don't think that the age is really that big of a deal. If you sign him up for 10 years and he competes in the SEC and makes like 4 playoffs in the next 10 years, then that's absolutely worth it. So I think the list should begin and end with Lane Kiffin, Kurt Cignetti. Of course, you call Dan Lanning. I think that he's not going to entertain it because he's going to get paid $1 billion to coach at Oregon, and he recruits great, and he kind of is in a tougher league now where he gets marquee games with the Big Ten schools and all that, and he's more than happy to just play the Georgias, the Floridas, the Alabamas in the playoffs. So I'm Team Lane. Lane says no, he's not who we think he is, and then we got to go smoke a cig.
I like Cignetti, and he's a guy that I mentioned last year when we thought that we were going to do this. The only thing that I worry about, and it's not a Cignetti problem, it's a jaded Gator fan problem, is another coach that wants to make Florida Alabama, and that's not necessarily fair to him. He runs the pistol offense, and I do like that Cignetti's into we're going to score as many points as we possibly can. I'm not allergic to scoring 60 points on somebody, but that worries me some with Cignetti, just because you saw what trying to make Florida Alabama did for Muschamp, for McElwain, and now for Billy. So
he's still throwing it all over the place.
Yeah,
Muschamp and Billy have never said they were going to throw it all. Like, Billy, even part of his problem is that he got away from his run the ball, play action thing this year.
Doesn't know who he is, doesn't know what he wants our opportunity to be. And then as far as Lane goes, something that jumped out to me when you were talking, Will, was how when you're watching a Lane Kiffin coach team and watching a Lane Kiffin roster, it feels like he gets it. Like, he's pragmatic in how he likes to solve problems. Like, you watch a guy that, he has Austin Simmons as his quarterback going into the season. He's a young guy, and it's no problem. We have the Ferris State quarterback as our backup. If Simmons goes down, we'll be fine. We'll hang 30-something points on SEC teams with Trinidad Chambliss playing quarterback for me. It's just it seems like that Lane is as many faults as he has with, sometimes they don't come ready to play, or sometimes he's a little too laissez-faire for some fans and too much on Twitter, whatever. He just always seems to have, like, he seems to be based in reality and isn't going to, keep running his head into a brick wall just because that's what he says the process is.
Yeah.
Which I think that's going to be such a breath of fresh air if that's who we end up hiring, because I think that you're just going to have something that's totally different from what we've watched these last 4 years.
Yeah. I go ahead.
Kiffin plays the portal. The top 7 teams in the portal from last year are undefeated. 5 of them have ranked wins. We don't play the portal game very well. It takes us too long to go out there and seek the talent. You remember, what was it? Billy's second week, he had 5 stars sending him videos of them just working out and stuff. That's not the part of the process. You got to evaluate, get these guys on campus and make them Gators as quickly as possible. And Lane Kiffin's done that at Ole Miss. I think Cincinnati was in the top 25 in transfer rating. It was pretty good for Indiana, right? And just after his first year, and he made the college football playoffs. So those are my 1-2. You got to make Lane the priority. And if he says no, I believe everyone's seen that clip of his daughter Landry created a video for him last year when he was contemplating the Auburn job, and he decided to stay home at Ole Miss. And Lane's had his issues off the field, but I think with his online presence, the E60 that's dropped, he's done a whole 180 on the PR in his life. So I think he's settled down. He's matured. Some people are just late bloomers, and I believe Lane Kiffin's the guy, and he finally realized what it takes to be in. There's important things on the football field, but off the football field as well. So he's made a home in Oxford, but we got to make him say no to come home to Gainesville.
Real quick on Signetti, one of the other things that I think would just be so great for the program. I don't subscribe to this idea that the program is like in the dumps or anything. I think that you get the right coach and we'll be just fine. But I do think that some of the players, I know DJ just came out and gave this like the guarantee. We'll see where the guarantee goes. But it almost seems like that losing, they're not like okay with losing, but it's just like a thing that happens, like it used to be that losing was catastrophic. And I think that Signetti is a guy, like you just hear him talk, he would come in here and he'd be like, who's okay with losing 2 games a season? All right, see ya, hit the portal. And he's like, I win. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that he would be good for like changing, sort of writing the culture back to where it's a win at all costs. And if you think that losing even one single rep is okay, then there's the door.
Yeah. Transitioning over to league play, we got, I believe, Tuesday night. The SEC conference came out with our 3 permanent opponents for the next 4 years. The Gators got a pretty favorable draw. Unfortunately, we'll let Reggie from Lake Charles, Louisiana, give us some talking points here on the Gators' permanent opponents and some of the intriguing matchups we lost along the way.
Hey guys, this is Paul from Lake City. I've got 2 questions for you.
Oh, wrong voicemail.
Hey guys, this is Paul from Lake.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't have Reggie from Lake Charles. I downloaded the wrong one, but as a Louisiana native and a Gator grad, he talked about Florida losing LSU and Tennessee off the yearly schedule, which is disappointing. I know that LSU and Tennessee have had our numbers the last few years, really since Billy Napier took over, but not the point. It's the LSU-Florida rivalries kind of became one of the most underrated matchups in all of college football. I believe LSU now leads that series 35-34 after the win 2 weeks ago over the Gators. Obviously Tennessee losing that stinks. In the 90s, that was not only the winner of the SEC East, but more than likely the winner of the SEC championship game. So, Sam, your thoughts on losing one of our top 2 biggest rivals yearly?
Yeah, it's definitely a bummer. And you mentioned the LSU rivalry has kind of elevated itself over the past few years. Obviously, there's always some other like circumstance in those LSU games. It seems this year it just happened to be DJ Lagway throwing 5 interceptions. But no, I would agree. Like Tennessee, like that is that's what we know. I mean, when we were all students, forgive me, 2nd or 3rd, Saturday of September, that's like the first, conference game. The buzz around campus is always great. A lot of some Tennessee fans would come down, and I have never been to Neyland. I know some of you guys have. I know it's a very hostile environment to go into as a Gator fan. So losing that is definitely a bummer. We've had their number before Billy, got the office in Gainesville, but it was always, great games, even though we would win. Sometimes we blow them out, obviously the Hail Mary and everything. So losing those 2 is definitely unfortunate, but we did get a pretty favorable draw. And, we do keep Georgia, which is, I would say, our top conference rival always. So I do, I'm glad you couldn't lose Georgia. But the other 2, it's a pretty good draw, and, I like it.
Yeah, Hunter, what are your thoughts? I mean, LSU, Tennessee, we've had the jump pass. We've had the goal line stop. A lot of good memories that now we got to wait 2-3 years to come back to life.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple like trains of thoughts here you've seen go around Twitter, and we've talked about in the group chat. You have the notion of tradition, and then you have ease of schedule, right? The favorable draw, and which one you prefer. I lean tradition, and certainly didn't want to see those rivalries go away. But also, there were so many rivalries in the SEC. There was no way, and I didn't anticipate that we were about to get Georgia, LSU, Tennessee. There was no world that was going to happen. There's going to be multiple rivalries that are axed because there's so many, and so it was going to happen. For me, though, I really wanted Tennessee to stay on the schedule. I was okay losing LSU. While those games have been awesome over the last decade or 2, we talked with Chris Doring about it. That LSU rivalry really is more of a 21st century one, and really the last decade or 2. That Tennessee one, it hurts not to be on the schedule every year. I understand it, and the favorable draw will definitely be nice next year. If you ask me the same question as we're playing South Carolina or Kentucky next year, I'll probably might have a different take. But I was hoping we'd keep Tennessee on there and have them in Georgia, and I was okay having the tougher draw, knowing that it keeps some tradition intact. But we'll ultimately still see those schools often, and so I'll kick it over to Dev, who I know likes the favorable draw.
Well, one second, Dad, before you get going, you mentioned 100 South Carolina, Kentucky takeover for Tennessee and LSU. So we're going to get a thought from Paul from Lake City before we jump into the South Carolina, Kentucky talk.
Hey guys, this is Paul from Lake City. I've got 2 questions for you real quick. First one, do you guys think Scott Strickland might be a double agent sent from Mississippi State trying to ruin the Florida Gator football program? I think at this point in time we can't really rule out any possibilities. And secondly, what are y'all's takes on losing the LSU and Tennessee yearly rivalries? Personally, I am not a fan, but I heard Lane Kiffin, he was upset about Ole Miss drawing Oklahoma. Maybe he would rather come play Kentucky every year. Who knows? So, long-time listener, first-time caller, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Good statement right there. Lane was on Twitter kind of pissed off. What do we have in common with Oklahoma?
Yeah, I'm glad that he's unhappy with Oklahoma being on the schedule, and I'm glad that he's not happy that Ole Miss keeps getting afternoon games because they keep putting us in primetime lane. Make it worth it to come on to Gainesville, and you'll get the primetime games you've been so looking for that you're not getting while you're in Oxford. To go back to the schedule though, dropping LSU and Tennessee, it's a bummer, but the times are changing. That's kind of what's going to happen when you expand the conference, and it was never feasible to think that Florida and Florida alone was going to get to protect all of their rivalries. And there's other games that have much more national significance and much more deep seated rivalries, especially for LSU. LSU lost the Alabama game, so that there's games all across the SEC. It's just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with 16 different programs that need to have 3 permanent opponents every year. I was perfectly fine with South Carolina and Kentucky, and I'm perfectly fine with the rivals that we do have on the schedule. I mean, we're going to play Georgia every single year. We're going to play FSU every single year, and then it makes it more special, I think, when you do get to play Tennessee and LSU, because that hate's not going away. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for us to get to see them in big games. Whether it's every other year in the regular season, whether it's in an SEC championship game, whether it's in a playoff game, there's going to be plenty of chances for us to see those 2 schools because they're both rolling right now. And, hopefully once we make this next hire, we're in a position where we're rolling right along with them. So I think that it's part of the times changing. It sucks to not have, a schedule with all 5 of your biggest rivals. But I think that getting to play Auburn every other year, getting to play Tennessee and LSU every other year makes for a special game, makes for special weekends when those games do come around now.
Yeah, Will, your thoughts? I know we like waking up and playing the best teams in the country every Saturday. That's part of being a Florida Gator and having some tough rivals, but now we interchange Tennessee and LSU for Kentucky, South Carolina.
Yeah, it would have been nice when Billy Napier is not the coach that we would have the marquee game over and over and over again, just like we had in basketball. And I personally think the gauntlet is fun whenever it's going to be a 16-team playoff, and 8-4 in the SEC would probably get you in. But I think Hunter is right on the money that Florida, it was probably a pipe dream to keep Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU or Auburn. And so is what it is. It'll be, it's one of these things where because the football team is actually so bad right now, we have to also complain about the schedule for the upcoming years. But if we were 4-0, I could not have cared less. And whenever we go and we're playing South Carolina next year and we're playing Auburn and stuff, it's going to be fun. We haven't seen them in a couple years and stuff. And so I'll get over it quickly. But it was weird not seeing Tennessee on the schedule until 2028 or whatever year it is.
Yeah, coming back to the Swamp in 29, but we do have some intriguing road games that we haven't been to quite some time. My goal is to go to every single SEC stadium outside of Georgia, unless we have when the Jags blow up their stadium and finally move to London in about 30 years. Maybe we're back in Athens. But we're in Auburn next year in 2026. First time since 2011. I was there in 2006. Will, I believe you were there as well.
I was there in 2004 and 2006 to witness the Jordan Hare voodoo in person.
Yep. That was, I believe Eric Wilbur dropped a punt. They blocked it, front flipped into the end zone, and our lone loss of the season. But we do get Auburn, Texas, 2 marquee games on the road in 26 and 27. We get Tennessee on the schedule again with Alabama on the road. And then 2028, we go to Ole Miss. That'll be a nice homecoming for Lane Kiffin. And then at Oklahoma for the first time. So 29 is kind of familiar opponents at LSU, at A&M. And then Arkansas is a fun one to go. I went there in 2017. But any road trips stick out to you fellas over the next 4 years? I'll start with you, Hunter.
Yeah, I've never been to Jordan Hare, so I mean, as soon as the schedule dropped, we have a group chat of guys that always take one away trip. We started that a few years ago. We'll be in Ole Miss this year, and so just trying to, like you, Jackson, trying to hit all the stadiums. I think I'm at 7 or 8 of the 14, and so Jordan Hare is one of those ones I have not been to. So we circled that one right away. Be excited to do that. Hopefully, they don't have the voodoo whenever we make it up there.
They always have the voodoo.
Hey, going into Jordan Hare and being able to flash the national championship stuff.
That's right.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's football season, though. We got to save basketball for it's basketball season, though, Dad.
Hey,
So we can maybe wear that on a Friday night.
It's always basketball season when you're a national champion, brother, especially when football teams 1 and 3.
But we do acknowledge it's a football school, so we're waiting for our savior to come back.
We have basically become one of these mid-major schools that like just lives for the basketball tournament, and like you're kind of just we're like a MAC program. You just play on. You happen to play football, but it's really about winning the tournament in March.
Sam, you're quite a ways away in Scottsdale, but I don't think you're getting any road games this year. But anything on your list that stuck out in 26 or 27 that you said, hey, I might need a 10?
Well, it was 28 when we go to Norman because that's technically the closest SEC destination for me. I know they don't have the whole, SEC history because they're a new, program, but they do have still a historic program. So that's definitely on the list, but way down the road. But like you guys mentioned, going to Auburn, reigniting that rivalry. I remember we were still in school, when Auburn came, Kyle Trask versus Bo Nix, top 10 matchup, college game day, like all the hype around it. So to kind of reignite that will be very cool. But yeah, I haven't hit as many SEC schools as you guys, but now that we're kind of bouncing around a little bit more, it's a good chance to check a few off.
Hey, Jackson, it sounds like there's 3 big road games in 2028, 28-3. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? I heard the shot about the Jaguars earlier.
Wow.
Oh, that was good.
If you consider Kentucky and Vanderbilt in that group, well, it's a big road game. Sure,
it wasn't a commentary on the schedule in 2028, brother.
I do want to rant real quick because of all this, they canceled the trip to Arizona State, which I don't appreciate because that would have been cool for me personally.
I'm here to tell you,
we all knew it was going to happen. Like when we scheduled like all these Pac-12 schools like 5 years ago, I was like, this is kind of wild. And now they're all Big 12 schools. But yeah, I don't appreciate them canceling that game. I just wanted to say that.
Thank goodness, because Billy Napier kind of ruined any like out west road trip that I ever had a desire to take with that Utah game.
That is valid.
So bad.
Hey, but the lone West Coast trip we've all taken all unintentionally met each other. Well, Sam is the only one that didn't know it, and I didn't know Dev at the time, but we all connected, so who knows what a West Coast trip to Scottsdale would have brought forward.
We bonded over 2 number 3s.
That's right, and a bunch of Utah fans saying, "You guys stink."
You guys stink. Thanks for coming.
Oh man, their trash talk was so funny.
So nice.
Walking out of the stadium, that was just like, "Have a safe trip back, guys. Thanks for coming."
There was actually a frat that had a sign that said "Gators stink." I swear to God, Gators stink from a frat house. So
Thankfully,
bad.
Sam and I had 4 days of golf in beautiful St. George, Utah after that. So we kind of forgot about the
Forgot all
game
about
real quickly. Yeah. By the next morning, 8 a.m. when we teed off on our 7 rounds in like 4 days, yeah, we totally forgot about
it. It was a golf trip anyway. Like it was
was.
only a golf trip. It just so happened that the Gators were playing in Utah the weekend we were there.
Correct. Well, I do like the schedule for the favorability. Like you guys mentioned, it's just a quick rebuild. We should be in the playoffs and contending with whoever our head coach is, preferably Lane Kiffin or Kurt Zanetti. No one else, please, Scott. But yeah, kind of sucks. All right, moving on. Gators on a bye. A lot of big games. A lot of big games this weekend. And thank God we do not have to watch a Billy Napier offense and gouge our eyes out, or rather be in the hospital due to sickness of some sort. Hopefully our boy Christian Jacksonville is doing much better now. I'm sure he is resting at home and will be thoroughly enjoying his slate of college football and the Ryder Cup. A lot of big games. Ole Miss, LSU. I think that's what we're all going to be looking for, right? We're going to be watching our contenders as head coaches these next few weeks. Unfortunately, fellas, if we want them to be our coach, I don't think they can be in the playoff. We need them right after Florida State doing the recruiting season. Are we cheering for an Ole Miss loss? You know, one big stigma of Lane Kiffin, he doesn't win the big game. This will just add on to that little bit of a red flag he's got on his resume. But what do we think in that game?
Nobody wins the big game until they've won the big game.
Exactly.
So that's my take on Lane Kiffin. That being said, go Tigers, go anybody playing against the Rebels. I am perfectly willing to sacrifice a couple of Ole Miss games this year for him to miss the playoffs, for it to be an option for us to hire him come November.
I thought he did that last year against Kentucky when he was on our coaching list in late September again. But
we should have been doing this. We should have already. We should be 4 games into the Lane Kiffin era right now.
yeah, any other games that stick out? I know we got Oregon, Penn State. Sam, what are you going to be keeping your eye on? I know the three of us will be on the golf course until 3 o'clock in the afternoon or so.
Yeah, well, definitely Ryder Cup, like we mentioned. But Bama, Georgia, big game this week. I kind of lean toward Bama, just like maybe DeBoer kind of gets a little bit of edge to him. Could see Kirby just go out there and stomp him, but that should be a really good game. Notre Dame, Arkansas is another one, just because I mentioned Marcus Freeman. Maybe they can right the ship, but another one. All of these coaches we want, like we can't have any of them make the playoffs, like you just mentioned. So that throws like a wrench into the plan with the expansion and of everything, and just the whole calendar of college football is just so out of sorts that it's basically almost like when you fire a coach, you almost have to like hire one like immediately, or you're just going to miss out on everything, it seems. But yeah, there's some good great slate of football. In intriguing Ohio State, Washington, just seeing Ohio State out in Seattle, that'll be an interesting image seeing them in that stadium. I got one of my good buddies, Ohio State grad. He'll be out there, so hope he has a good time. But that should be a good game too.
Jed Fish on the
I was
list.
going to say, you guys are overlooking Jet.
Yeah, we didn't mention him.
13 and a half point underdog when the line opened. Now only a touchdown dog. So a lot of
If
money
Jed Fish
rolling in.
beats Ohio State, he is going to be on the list, whether you like it or not, Hunter.
Hey, I respect anyone that's from New Jersey that wanted to come to the University of Florida strictly to be a GA for Steve Spurrier. And he tried multiple times writing letters while he was a student at Florida and finally got his opportunity. So
He left a note on Spurrier's car.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
And I know a guy who knows staff members on Washington staff who work for Jed Fish, and he hired these people specifically from the Nick Saban tree because when he went to Arizona, he did not think they were tough enough. So he said, "Who the heck is the toughest team in college football? Oh, duh, it's Nick Saban. Let me go hire a guy from his strength coach, not like our guy who just happens to ride motorcycles." But that kind of thinking, that's like, how do I really get ahead of the curve and change the culture here? That's what I'm talking about. Just nationwide search, find the most intelligent person. Jed Fish, don't forget about him. But you guys are all overlooking the potential game of the week. The Florida State High School Seminoles play on Friday night against the University. against the University of Virginia. I think they're only like 5-point favorites.
6.5.
6.5. This is a Gus Malzahn special. If you remember Gus, he slaughtered bad teams at Auburn because they couldn't figure out his offense, and he gave Nick Saban hell. Everybody else, he just like Dan Mullen just would. The Jordan Hare voodoo didn't exist to Dan Mullen because he just would somehow carve up Auburn. LSU would go in there and beat them. It didn't matter. All these other teams that were sort of middle of the road would give Auburn trouble. So I'm expecting that Thomas Castellanos is not going to have his all-world game that he's been having against Kent State and Alabama and all that. Just watch out for the Who's giving the Noles a lot of trouble on a Friday night.
Not even doing an evaluation of the coaches and the players. Just think about the spot. Short week on the road, college game day next week, Miami coming to town. You're going up to sleepy little Charlottesville, Virginia. That is a trap spot of all trap spots. Be on the lookout for that. It's a Friday morning, so tonight at 7 o'clock, Charlottesville.
Yeah.
I'll add them to our list. I had a list of 5 games on the SEC. We're going to do a spread, a little pick 'em since the Gators aren't playing. Lions 6.5. I'll take the Seminoles. Hunter? You're are muted. So, Will.
Give me the Who's. Give me the Who's outright. I'm not picking the Noles. Give me a break. Come on. Also, the one bright spot of Billy Napier being absolutely terrible is, if we get some interim coach ruining the Noles season after Thanksgiving, that will be beautiful.
I'm locking arm in arm with brother Will. Who's money line?
Who's in the over?
You don't get out of Virginia alive.
Sam, who do you got?
Give me the Who's. Inside bet, give me the over.
All right, Hunter. I think our
thumbs up for Virginia, thumbs down for Florida State. Oh, come on.
All right. Guys at the top of the screen know what
Florida State.
Hey, by the way, I was the only one that picked Miami on breakfast bites when we had Billy Lasco on. So
yeah, because you're a communist traitor.
But I'm profitable.
Right. In all kinds of weather, except when it's profitable.
Correct. All right, moving on.
For your next move, you should write a dissertation on how Scott Strickland actually is trying to kill the Florida Gators athletic program while also being so bad at that he hires a national championship winning basketball coach and invests more money into the football program than anybody should ever.
The logic was sound, Will. The logic was sound.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Number 22, Notre Dame. Our boy Marcus Freeman at the Razorbacks. The Razorbacks are 4.5-point underdogs at home. They've lost back-to-back games in just brutal fashion. I'm going to take the Hogs outright.
Bold. Give me Notre Dame.
I'll go with Notre Dame.
Sam? Will?
Little fact for you guys. The SEC is undefeated in hypothetical matchups. Give me the Hogs outright.
Hunter, who you got? He's got the Hogs, it looks like. Taking this fighting Sam Pittman's.
Oh, no. He's got Notre Dame.
Okay. All right. Back on the Marcus Freeman train. Number 4, LSU at number 13, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 1.5 favorite. Talked about this game a little bit. I'm taking the Lane train. What their starting linebackers done to their daughter, I think he is going to put up 70.
What he's done to her?
Well, they went. Yeah, he probably, hard launching on Instagram the week of this game. I don't know what he did, but
he's taken her to dinner and dropped her off at the front door.
I think he had some of that French Quarter voodoo magic on her, and he needs to put up 70 on him.
It's a family show, Jackson.
That's not what I meant. Sam, who do you got?
Obviously, we love Lane, want to see him win, but like we mentioned, don't want him to make the playoff. But it would be nice to see him beat LSU to see what that feels like. Yeah, I know we beat LSU last year, but it doesn't matter. Give me the Tigers just because can't have Lane make the playoff.
I think that Ole Miss is going to win this game, not because of Whit Weeks or anything like that, but I think that LSU really struggles to score. I think Ole Miss's defense is meh. But it's probably one of those. Pete Golding's one of those guys that just like gets better as the season goes along. Like they should start playing better. But this Ole Miss team seems focused. Like they went out there in what should have been the trap game of all trap games against Tulane. John Summerall, hot name. Let's hire that guy. Yeah, right. Should have, everybody thought that they were going to come in there and give Ole Miss everything they wanted. Lane, backup quarterback, didn't matter. Slaughtered them like Spurrier used to do back in the day. I think that they need to score like 24 points and they win the game. And so I think Ole Miss is going to get that done despite LSU's defense because I don't think LSU can hang with them in the scoring department.
We do.
Totally agree. I think Ole Miss is better coached, and I think they win the game.
And they have a stealth bomber flyover before the game, so edge to the Rebels. Wow. Hunter, we can see you. Thumbs up, Ole Miss. Thumbs down, LSU. Oh, he's taking the Tigers for those folks at home that cannot see. Auburn at number 9, A&M. A&M a 6.5-point favorite. Neither of you guys are on our list, but we do got to face the Aggies in 2 weeks. I will take the Fighting Hugh Freezes. Touchdown dog.
Give me the Aggies. I think they can handle them pretty soundly. And like I mentioned earlier, I think they're a really good team, and I think they will get Billy Napier fired. So give me the Aggies. Keep rolling.
This is one of those that you look at it and you say, why is Texas A&M only a 6.5-point favorite at home against an Auburn team that still kind of can't score? I think last year A&M was only favored by 3.5 points in Jordan Hare, and Auburn won that game by 3. Odd line, I'm going to go with Auburn just because I'm kind of sniffing something funky going on with Vegas. So give me Auburn plus 6.5.
Well,
give me the Tigers. The Tigers should have beaten Oklahoma last week, if not for some cheating shenanigans going on by Brent Venables. Welcome to the SEC, Brent. I know Clemson's no stranger to cheating, but now, as Nick Saban has always said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And so welcome to the SEC, Brent. Looks like you're finally fitting right in. But I think this Auburn team is actually pretty good. I think that they are going to go in there. Hugh Freeze he develops pretty good game plans, knows his team's strength. He's going to go in there and keep it close, running the clock just like he did against Oklahoma. And so A&M probably wins because I think they have the better roster and are well coached as well. But I think this is going to be a tight game. So give me the points.
Hunter, thumbs up. Auburn, thumbs down. He is taking, it looks like, the Tigers. All right, 2 more. Well, we'll end on this one. Number 17, Alabama at number 5, Georgia. The Dogs are 2.5-point favorites. Last year, wild game in Tuscaloosa. Everyone thought the Kalen DeBoer era was here. And now they're ranked outside the top 15 for the first time in God knows how long. Probably going to be outside the top 20, possibly the top 25, depending on how bad this loss is. Georgia, big win against the Vols on the road in a comeback fashion just a few weeks ago. I'm taking the Dogs by 2 scores. Sam?
They were outside the top 15 last year. They lost to Vanderbilt. And
good point.
Yeah, but I'm still taking Bama.
Hunter and I argued about this one before we started recording. So right now I'm going to hear out any point that Hunter has for me to take Alabama. And I don't hear anything from him. Unfortunately, I think that this isn't Nick Saban's Alabama. I think Georgia wins. I think they win by a lot. I think this is going to be another game.
The Dogs could be favored over Lulu Tech by 3 points, and we aren't keeping score. I would still take Lulu Tech. I'm taking Alabama. I'm never picking Georgia. I hope that they go and in that it just rains and every Georgia fan there, they lose their voice from barking at children. They all get rained on, and they just have the worst time in the world. And then Alabama breaks their hearts on a game-winning field goal. That'd be my ideal. That'd be my ideal Saturday night.
Flat tires when they get back to their car.
Yeah, no injuries though. I don't. We don't root for that.
No. Well, everybody, that wraps up another episode of Breakfast with the Gators. Thank you for joining us on this fine Friday morning. the Ryder Cup should be about halfway through match number 1 at this point. We're all going to be tuned in, watching the Americans kick the Europeans' ass. I know this is a family show, but we're in Bethpage Black in New York, so let's get after them.
You little New Yorker in you. Yeah, it should be a great event. If you don't watch golf, check out the Ryder Cup. It's honestly it's an awesome event, let alone from golf, all of sports. It's one of my favorites. So, and it's hyped up to be, the best one we've ever seen. So really excited to see how it plays out.
Will, your trip to London didn't flip you, did it?
No, and actually I recruited Rory while I was there, and he has conceded that the United States of America is the greatest country on the planet. So,
well, Dev, myself, and Hunter will be at Hammock Dunes playing the links course, Oceanside. So we're gonna have a blast Saturday morning. Then we go get on the couch, watch the rest of the Ryder Cup, watch a lot of football. So thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we're part of the Stadium and Gale network presented by our partner, Norris Norris, PA. Norris Norris, PA out of Lake City, Florida. Give Guy a call if you need any assistance with business law matters, real estate, wills, or trust and estate planning. You can give Guy a call at 386-752-7240. And make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, and share button. We appreciate all the comments you guys provide. Thank you to the folks that called into the show. We love hearing your voices. So our number is posted on our YouTube page and our Twitter page at Breakfast WTG. We'll see you again next Thursday. We have a Breakfast Fights returned. I don't know who the guest will be at this time, but I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty good one and maybe another one, part of a national championship Gator program. So until next time, stay proud, stay loud, and always go Gators.
Go Gators in all kinds of weather, even when it's not profitable.